I'm gonna be making my favorite soup, broccoli cheese soup. You're watching The Bear Pantry Show. So if you guys remember, a couple days ago I put up a video where I taught you how to make the chicken broth, right? And I put my broth in this container and I just seal it and just put it in the fridge. This is all the fats that's risen to the top. That's okay. So you want to get like a small onion. I used like half of a medium-sized onion here and I diced it up. We're going to use a 1/3 cup of all-purpose white flour, and this is only half a tablespoon of garlic. You can get away with a full tablespoon, but I'm not really a great fan of garlic, so I put as little as I can. This is 2 tablespoons of butter, and over here I've got 2 cups of regular milk, but we're going to use 2.5 cups, so I have the half cup measured right here. Anyways, the next ingredient that we're going to use is processed cheese product. This is not real cheese. This, I'm using the brand Velveeta, and they have the generic brand at the store too that's kind of like Velveeta. My kids call it Shellvita when I buy the cheap one. This is 8 ounces that we're going to be using. And the reason we're not using real cheese is because it really doesn't go well in the soup at all. It kind of like gets lumpy on me. We're going to use a little bit of black pepper, and that's going to be to your taste. I'm not going to be putting salt in this soup if I don't have to, because this cheese right here has a lot of salt. And of course, let me show you the last ingredient, which is the most important part for broccoli cheese soup, is the broccoli florets. Let me get that. So here we are. I just got a bag from the store of broccoli florets. And I think they call them like that because they're smaller pieces than if you get those big chunks of broccoli. Let me try to get this open and show you. See, they're smaller little pieces. It's all frozen together, but it's okay because the soup's going to heat it up. So let's move over to the stove and get started with the next phase of making the soup. So I got a big pot, and I'm getting my 2 tablespoons of butter and putting it in the pot. And let me turn my fire on. And right now I'm going to put it on high, but this is my big bad burner that cooks things pretty fast. So we want the butter to melt a little bit. And then at that point we're going to be adding in the diced onions, the garlic, so that it can saute for about 3 minutes. So let me give that like 30 seconds to melt. Here we go, it's sizzling. I'm going to put my onions in. If you don't like too much onions, you could put less. You know, you guys know I don't mind if you change up my recipes a little bit. So this is all subjective, okay? Put that in, put the garlic, and I think in the recipe when I write it in the book, I'm going to put a tablespoon of the garlic, but I'm actually using half of a tablespoon, just because of the taste thing like I told you. So this is going to saute for like 2 to 3 minutes, just until it's tender, and at that point we're going to add our broth and our broccoli florets, okay? So I've let this go for a couple of minutes. If you wanted a little bit more tender, you would go that extra minute to make it 3 minutes. But this is going to be cooking for a little bit, so let me add my broth. And this is roughly about 3 cups. And if you didn't make your broth from scratch like I showed you in the last video, you can buy, you know, ready-made broth in the box or in the can. I've told you guys before why I don't mess with that, because I really do have problems with MSG. So my broth's been sitting in the fridge for a few days, and you could sit that in there for a couple of weeks. If not, you put it in the freezer. So let me get my broccoli florets. I keep saying broccoli with an L. So see how small the pieces are? And we're going to let this come to a boil, and then we're going to let it cook for like 10 minutes before we add our milk and flour to this, okay? So see you guys in about 10 minutes. But this is very, very simple menu that I'm making for lunch today. Broccoli cheese soup. So as I wait for the broccoli to get tender, all I'm doing here with the cheese product is kind of making it into dices. so that it can easily melt when I put it in the soup. I don't want it in big chunks. See, it's kind of sticking together, kind of clammy. So this is a quick and easy meal that you guys can make for lunch. Every time I've gone to restaurants, I've always loved this soup, but I don't eat soups in restaurants, because even if that restaurant makes that soup exclusively for themselves, they make it off at a warehouse somewhere, and then they put it in cans, albeit big cans. They truck it into the restaurant, and then they tell you it's fresh. It's not really. It has to have some kind of preservatives in there to make it last in those cans, right? So all I'm doing is separating these little pieces right here for when we add it to the soup. And I know that there's a broccoli soup that you can make that doesn't have cheese, but I like the one with the cheese. And even though I have trouble with processing cheese with my body, I don't have any trouble processing this, because this is not real cheese. This is processed cheese product. Anyways, I'm going to set that aside because I want to show you, I didn't put my black pepper yet. When it comes to the milk, you know what? I can actually put the milk in here. I just wanted to show you that I measured 2.5 cups. This, I'm going to get a big bowl, because I'm going to put these together in a bowl and whisk it as fast as I can to make it not get lumpy. And then I'm going to add it to the soup. So that's another process that we're going to do, okay? So my soup is ready behind me right there. I have the stove on still. And I'm just putting in my little bit of flour, 1/3 cup of flour with the 2.5 cups of milk. And I want to whisk this without getting it on my clothes. You guys notice I don't use aprons, huh? I've never cooked with an apron on, and I know a few people have suggested I could put my logo or something cute or something spiritual on the apron and wear it. Maybe I'll try it. I just always want to try to be me, my little normal, authentic self. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and pour this in the pot. All right, so this is whisk. If you notice, it's not lumpy. I did a really good job of making sure that flour is not lumpy in here. So let's see if we can move it over to the pot. So I'm going to pour the milk in the pot. And I'm going to have to shift the camera around so you guys can see what it looks like, because it's beautiful now to look at. Just let that cook for a little bit more while I shift my camera position so you can see inside this pot. So here we go. It's pretty, huh? Look at that. Now, I suppose at this point, if you didn't want to do broccoli cheese soup, this is when you'd shut it off and not do anything else, not put the cheese or anything else. But because I want to make broccoli cheese soup, I have my fire on very low while I add my black pepper. Like I said, I'm probably not going to add any salt, but you can add salt to your taste. But I'm probably not going to add any because that cheese is very salty. So I'm going to put the black pepper. And you want to taste that too and put that to your taste also, okay? But I'm putting like 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So now, because I'm making broccoli cheese soup, what I'm going to do is shut the stove off completely. And then I'm going to add the cheese. Give it a few seconds. You don't want to add the cheese in here when the fire's on or when the flames are on, because it's going to really mess up this for you. So you just kind of want to add your cheese in. This is 8 ounces of that. I'm using Velveeta brand, like I said, but you could use store-bought brand. So all that's basically going to happen now is the heat that's in the soup itself, not from the flames or the fire, is gonna go ahead and melt the cheese. And it's gonna melt it to a good consistency to where it's not lumpy. And pretty much this is ready to serve. This is our own homemade broccoli cheese soup. And I've had to learn a lot of these restaurant type foods my own way, because I like them, but they just really do me bad when I go to the restaurant. So pretty soon we're going to be doing a biscuit that we get at one of our favorite restaurants. And we're just going to break the recipes down, and I have Joe taste them to tell me more or less what's in it. And we kind of base it off of our recipes that we have. And we just tweak things till we get them right. So here you have it. Beautiful broccoli cheese soup. Let me serve some up in a bowl for you so you guys can see. I'm going to let it melt for like a minute or so more. Let the cheese continue to melt. See how smooth the cheese melted when I shut the fire off? When I used to do this before, I would leave the fire on and add the cheese, and oh my Lord, I had a disaster. But I learned just shut it off, be patient, it'll melt. So let me get a bowl to show you the actual finished product. So here we have it. This is my lunch today. Me and Jada and Joe will eat this. The boys don't care for this too much, but we love this. One of these days I'm gonna have to learn to make gumbo for Jory. But this is our broccoli cheese soup, and it's just awesome. I know you guys are gonna enjoy this if you try it. Pretty easy, right? Nothing hard to it at all. And remember that you have to use the processed cheese product. Don't use real cheese, because I promise you it'll get lumpy if you try to use real cheese. I love this soup all the time. Even if my stomach is upset, I can eat a little bit of this and feel better. Thank you guys for watching the show, for subscribing, for sharing the show with your friends and family, and for all the people who have been contacting me through email and stuff. I really appreciate that you reach out and tell me who you are. Until I see you again, take care.